Hi, everybody. Just getting everybody in. Do, do, do. Hello. Can everybody hear me okay? Like, somebody type something. Let me know you can hear me. I wanted to talk about habitability issues today. Yay. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Does anybody have anything that they want to address right away? I always try to ask that first, just to see if somebody has a quick question they need answered before they go eat their lunch. If nobody has anything, I'm going to talk about habitability issues. I know we had talked about that a couple of weeks ago about wanting more information and details regarding habitability issues. If you guys still want to talk about that today, we could talk about that today, or we can talk about whatever you want. I'm pretty easy. Nobody has any comments? Okay, then we're going to talk about breaching the warranty to provide habitable premises. So a lot of times when we're in an eviction, I'm moving my camera around. Don't get nauseated. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make it a little better. Okay, Val has a question, so let's get to her real quick. We have a tenant who has someone living there and locked their bedroom door. Unfortunately, because of the COVID pandemic, we can't do anything currently about unauthorized occupants or unauthorized pets until after April Fool's Day. So as far as that goes, the lock on the door would be a modification to the property without written consent of the landlord, right on the nose. So that would be a 3-day curable breach of covenant to get into that room or get that lock removed. That's how I'd approach that one, just so you know. I hope that helped, Val. So 3-day curable. Yeah, they'll change it again, I'm sure. Tenants do what tenants do. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Humans do what humans do. I mean, we all do that. We just don't pay attention to it. When you buy a new house, as soon as it closes escrow, do you go change the locks? I do. If you're purchasing, if you're renting a house, you don't know who has a key. The very first thing we do is change the locks. We don't know who has a key, right? Just saying, it's something that goes hand in hand together. I know, Val, 3-day curable breach of covenant on that one. Trust me. Get them that way. Let me see. We got lots of questions coming in. We have a tenant who has someone living there, locked their bedroom. We changed it out, but they may change it again. This person is not on the lease. They moved into the master bedroom and locked the door. Well, April Fool's Day, we can go after them. Sure. Unauthorized occupants got to leave April Fool's Day. So get your 3-day curable breach of covenant ready to serve them on April 1st. To remove the unauthorized occupant. Okay, how long will this COVID rental assistance last up to the end of the year? COVID assistance will pay through the month of March. I have not heard of them adding any more funds to the budget. So when the money's gone, the money's gone. I know they're getting to limited funds at this point. Some areas are starting to run out of money. I know that because we see that on their application status when it comes through. So that when we're doing an eviction. So we're starting to see some of the programs running out of funding. As for the government adding additional funds to that, I don't know what they're going to do, I'm being honest. Okay. I don't see that they would add additional funding for counties other than LA at this point, because COVID protections leave all the other counties starting on April 1st date. Assembly Bill 832, which is what currently governs us, AB 832, for those COVID protections across the state don't leave until March 31st of this year. So the end of next month. And then we'll see what happens from there. I have a feeling, and I don't know, I'm being honest with you guys. I have a feeling that we might see an extension in San Diego County. Why do I think that? Heavily populated areas come with heavy restrictions for landlords. San Diego is a metropolis just like LA. So if we were to see other additional extensions for COVID protections, I would anticipate us seeing those in San Diego County. Has it happened yet? No, it's just where my brain is headed as far as the COVID pandemic and what's coming about because of it. I need to go turn on the light. I'm sitting here in the dark and it's really bugging my vision. So give me a second, okay, you guys? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't see. Driving me crazy. Give me light. No, not the ceiling fan. There we go. I'm sorry. I felt like I was sitting in the dark. It was bad. Somebody else wants in. Let's get everybody in here. Did I answer everybody's questions regarding the pandemic? So at this point, in about 35 days or so, give or take, we should get all of our rights back as landlords, starting on April Fool's Day. I know that's a really weird day to have something in, but hey, hasn't this whole thing been a little odd? Just saying, COVID itself has been a little odd. Okay, let's talk about habitability issues. One of the biggest habitability issues that we see argued a lot in answers when court cases are being filed, you got to remember, when you poke somebody in the eye, chances are they're going to poke you back. It's just what humans do, right? So when we file an eviction against our tenant, they poke us back by crying habitability issues. There's a lot of moving pieces in regards to habitability issues. But the reality is, and the easiest way that I could sum this up for you, the landlord, is that when you rent a property, you have a responsibility as the landlord to provide them with habitable premises. If you don't, you are in violation of the contract, whether it be an oral agreement or a written agreement. Okay. Hot water. Not having hot water or ample hot water is a big one. We see that a lot. Cracked or peeling paint, chipping paint, uneven flooring, worn flooring, broken or cracked windows, window screens, any plumbing issue regarding slow drains, leaky faucets, both of those things are a problem, okay? And honestly, anything that has to do with plumbing leaking anywhere. Air conditioning can be considered a habitability issue if the city that the property is located in has an ordinance regarding air conditioning. Example, cities with very high temperatures, like I can tell you right now, the city of Barstow has an ordinance regarding AC being a habitability issue. So if you have an AC unit in the unit and the AC isn't working, it's a habitability issue in the city of Barstow. I believe it's also that way in Lancaster. Okay. Couldn't give you every city off the top of my head at the moment, but you get the idea. So the city of Needles most likely has it because they're most likely looking at triple digits throughout the summer months. So usually areas that are known for being hot, temperature wise, you guys, I'm trying to not make this get off the wrong track here. But usually where we see that AC can become a habitability issue, it just depends on what the rules and regulations are in the city, which is a whole nother part of our business. We have to deal with everything that controls us. And we think, oh, it's just the law. No, it's not. We have municipalities that control us. We have governmental agencies that control us. So we have a lot of moving parts in our business and in our industry. And when you start screaming at us that we breached the warranty to provide habitable premises, we start to panic. Wait, that house is fully livable. We got to also remember that we're not living in there every day, so we don't see the wear and tear that's going on. And I highly, highly recommend that you do interior inspections at least twice annually. Ask them if they have any repairs or anything that needs to be brought to your attention. They live there all the time. They see it every day. They may know, hey, maybe you provide the refrigerator. So let me just throw this one at you. The ice maker's making some really weird noises in the refrigerator. Okay, great. You kind of need to know that. So having that open communication relationship with your tenant helps tremendously when you're dealing with things that could possibly or potentially be habitability issues. If there's a lock on the mailbox, that's a habitability issue. Insufficient locks on windows and doors, habitability issue. No window screens, habitability issue. We may not have to provide air conditioning, folks, but we should be able to allow them to open the window and get a nice breeze through there. It also helps with making sure that they're airing out the property properly to avoid mildew or mold issues. So quite a few things that we can have on a habitability issue. Okay, lots of stuff just came up. Hold on. Not LA County, we're still screwed until June of 2023. Yes, and what most people don't realize is that's when the protected period ends, and then the 1 year to repay the rent start it's gonna be a mess for a while. I know, I'm sorry. I didn't write the rules. Does San Diego City have AC as a habitability issue? How do I check? You can check what your rules are in your cities by contacting code enforcement. They are the ones that know whether something is a habitability issue. And usually the only thing that we see as an issue that could be is AC. So call code enforcement and ask them if air conditioning is a habitability issue in the city. And you got to be careful how you ask questions when you're talking about habitability issues, because let me give you an example. Let's say that the air conditioning is not a habitability issue. Habitability has to do with one thing, you guys. It has to do with whether or not you can charge the rent until it's fixed. End of conversation, period. Okay. Why I say that is because if something isn't a habitability issue, let me give you an example. A dishwasher is most likely considered an amenity. It's not a requirement. We can put on gloves or really get our hands wet and soap up those dishes ourselves and do it the old-fashioned way, okay? It's not a requirement. It's a convenience. It's an amenity. It's something that makes your life easier, okay? The dishwasher breaks. Do you have to fix it right away? No, it's not a habitability issue. It's a convenience and an amenity. But if you don't fix it for 30 days, then it becomes a habitability issue. Everybody paying attention? You also don't want to remove services. So it could be, and I'm using terminology here to protect me, it could be considered a bait and switch if you put somebody into a property that had a dishwasher and a built-in microwave. You as the landlord can't reduce services. You have to leave those amenities there in good working condition order. I mean, that's what they pay their rent for, right? So you can't just say, oh, the dishwasher is not a habitability issue. We're not fixing it. After 30 days, it becomes a habitability issue, and most likely the tenant could withhold rent. So when you have something that needs to be fixed, fix it. If it's a habitability issue, fix it yesterday. Don't wait till tomorrow. You don't want to get in that whole rent thing. What's a reasonable amount of time to fix a habitability issue? 24 hours. 48 hours. And I'm talking about after you were notified. They can't call you on Friday at 5 minutes to 5 and say, hey, I have no hot water. Okay, next business day, we'll respond to that. I actually would send somebody out there over the weekend because I don't want that to continue to build into a habitability issue. So it just depends on what your business practices are, what you're willing to expose yourself to, and what you're not willing to expose yourself to. But habitability issues can creep up on you quickly. One of the biggest things that I see as a habitability issue is issues with the stove or the oven. issues with the stove or the oven. If the landlord provides the stove or the oven, that's a habitability issue. So you want to make sure you're addressing those right away. I remember one year at Thanksgiving, I want to say this was in 2008 when the real estate market crashed and we had a lot of vacancies. I had an owner, he had 3 properties with me. One I couldn't rent because somebody died in it and it gave everybody the heebie-jeebies. I mean, I even had to lower the rent like $500 a month cheaper than everywhere else to get somebody in there. But I had a vacant unit sitting there that somebody had passed away in, and his tenant came in. It was Thanksgiving time. I will never forget this. And she walks into my office with these 2 charcoal pies. Okay. And when I say charcoal, I mean, they were burnt. They were like blackened. And she's standing there with these 2 pies in her hands. And she says, Thanksgiving's in 2 days and my whole family is coming to my house, and my oven, every time I put something on it, gets stuck on clean. So she's putting her stuff in the oven to bake her apple pie or pumpkin pie, and it's cranking the temperature up to 750 degrees and then locking the doors so she can't open it and get her food out. It's self-cleaning with her pies in there. So I cheated. He had a vacant house. I couldn't get it rented. I went over there, stole the stove and took it over to her house and installed it over there. So she had no delay at all whatsoever. With the holiday, I knew I wasn't going to get her stove fixed. So I just did a swapperoo. Sometimes you have to do that in order to make things work. I will tell you this, if you're dealing with an apartment community, don't get into the habit of doing that. When you start pulling a dishwasher from this unit and a stove from that unit, you end up with all these units with all these things that aren't complete. And you can find yourself doing more damage than you are doing good. Okay. So be careful with that as well. Let me see. I saw some more questions coming in. Hang on. We did leave a washer dryer in a unit. We stated we were not responsible for them when the new tenant moved in. Okay, you should be fine with a washer dryer in the unit. What I say when I leave an appliance there is the owner will not maintain. It's there for you to use. So when I leave a I can't say the dishwasher. If it's built in, you're responsible to maintain it. Microwave, dishwasher, oven, don't care. If it's built in, it's on you. If the microwave sits on the countertop and the tenant brought it in, that's a them problem, not a you problem. Okay. So remember that. If I leave a washer and dryer, I just put in the lease contract that the landlord will not maintain. It's there for them to use. In the event the tenant wants to have you remove those so they can put in their own, you're going to have to do that. Okay, keep that in mind. What if a tenant states, I don't know why, I think I need a new prescription. What if a tenant states, I never cook, states does not need a cooktop? Is that an issue? Absolutely. Everybody has to be able to cook in their house. If they don't have a way to cook with a stovetop, then that's a habitability issue for sure. They don't owe rent. And here's me talking out loud. What about that tenant? You know, that one tenant that says, oh, don't worry about it. It's not a problem, because they don't cook, but they know what the rules are. So they wait a couple years and then come back to you and go, yeah, you never did fix my habitability issue. I want all my rent back. Don't expose yourself to unnecessary things. We have enough coming at us from the pandemic, from habitability issues, from moratoriums, from, I don't need to tell you guys, you know, we've been running like a chicken with our heads cut off, doing this a lot, trying to figure out what was going to fall on us next. Don't invite any more stress to your plate, okay? Don't invite lawsuits. I always say, if you have a habitability issue, fix it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Fix it yesterday. The faster, the better. So sometimes eliminating those habitability issues really help. I do know that if you go to a property to do your inspection, I always ask the tenant, do you have any repairs or anything that you want to bring to my attention? And if they say to me, no, we don't need any repairs, everything's actually really good. What I ask is if they would put that in writing for me, and just sign and date. We don't need any repairs at this time. The property address is sign and date. So every time you do an interior inspection, you should always ask that. I know you guys know I'm trying to tell you something. You should always ask that and get them to put that in writing, okay? Because later down the road, if they say, oh, you never replaced my cooktop and I've lived here for 2 years, you could pull that out, show it to your attorney and say, but they signed last month that they didn't have any repairs. So it's just another way to help protect yourself from all of the things that happen to us in this industry, okay? So have them put in writing that they don't need any repairs, everything's fine. Sometimes that helps you more than you know. Okay. Does anybody have anything? Do we still want to talk about habitability issues? Because I can talk to you guys for days. You have no idea. And sometimes I chase squirrels in my own brain. But I just want to make sure you understand habitability issue you need to fix right away. The tenant doesn't owe rent until it's corrected in most scenarios. If you have to replace a tenant, I'm sorry, I used the wrong word, not replace the tenant. Although I would like to do that a lot right now, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Sorry, squirrel. Habitability issue is much easier to deal with as it happens rather than going back and dealing with the potential issues of what happens going forward. All right, I saw a bunch of questions come in. Let me see if I can't get them. Is a stuck window a habitability issue? It could be after 30 days because they can't open the window for proper ventilation. So if they get a mildew or a mold issue, and they say, oh, that falls on you, the tenant, because you didn't properly ventilate, they're going to come back and say, no, that falls on you, the landlord, because I can't open the window. Also, what happens if there's a fire? You expect them to break the window? Just saying. Fix the window. Okay, got it? Fix the window. Remember, it could become a habitability issue after 30 days. This will sound crazy. Oh God, Val, it already sounds crazy. It's coming from you. I love you though. You challenge me. But the non-tenant who may be changing the lock to the master bedroom, is it possible to remove the door? No. I love you, but no, we don't want to go signing up for lawsuits because we're changing locks and locking them out of inside their own interior. No. She's talking about changing a lock on an interior bedroom door. I just don't suggest it. If you absolutely positively need to get in there, then call a locksmith and tell him to open the door to give you access, but do not change the locks. If you change the locks, it could be an illegal lockout, and we don't want to do that. Okay, we got a question regarding cats. I have a funny story about a tenant with cats. Tenant with cats, we replaced the screens in no time. There are holes in the screens. Do I replace them and charge the tenant? Absolutely. That would be tenant caused damage, right? Paying attention? I hear you. I get you guys. I know what you're after. You're like, I don't want to fix this. They're just going to destroy it again. Then fix it and put the bill back on them. Take photos, notify them, give them a 3-day cure or quit notice for failing to pay the invoice for the repairs that were done at the property for the damage they caused. Got that? In non-COVID times, and the reason I'm saying that is a lot of you in LA County, and I apologize for this, but your hands are tied. So are your feet. You don't have it. I mean, they're just really, really coming down on you. I get that. I understand. I'm sorry. I know that. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's happening to all of you. Somebody told me something yesterday. I loved it so much I wrote it down, and I'd have to go over to my notebook and find it. We replace the screens and do it. Yeah, replace them and charge a tenant. There's a lot of things you can do and charge back to a tenant depending on what your move-in inspection says. Remember, the tools that we put in place to help us throughout the tenancy usually happen at hello. In other words, when you're doing a move-in inspection and you're having them sign all the lease paperwork, you know that walkthrough where everybody signs of all the damages? Don't just take pictures of everything that's wrong. You know, a lot of people take a picture of the hole in the wall that the doorknob made, and they'll say, oh yeah, you're not responsible for this. I'll take a picture of that damage and put it in the file. Stop taking pictures of what you already know is damaged. You know it's damaged. Stand back in the corner of the room and take a picture this way of everything that's right, from the ceiling to the floor. Okay, so another tip for you guys, I usually take between 2 and 4 pictures of each room. You can take a video, but I'll tell you why a video is a problem. A video will not be seen in court, ever. So you're gonna have to screenshot the video to get your pictures for a court trial. Make sense? Make sense? So you can video, and then you know how you screenshot and then print those pictures from the video? That's what you'll have to do in order to have printable photos to hand the judge based on condition. But standing back and taking a picture of everything that's right in the room has saved me so many times, because I've been able to go, look, there wasn't a big basketball size hole in the wall when you moved in. I have a photo to prove it. So those photos that you take at hello really help. That walkthrough inspection helps too. Document things not only that are wrong, but that are right. So if they're not right when they move out, you can show it didn't look like this when you moved in. A picture speaks 1,000 words, 1,000 words, especially in a court trial. Are we allowed to take video during our inspection? Yes, absolutely. But I talked to you, you're going to have to screenshot photos out. Tip for move-in. Count the smoke detectors and the CO2 detectors. They are never there when they move out. Yes, and state where they are in the hallways and things of that nature. What else could I tell you as a tip on a move-in? CO2 and smoke detectors. You're right, Val. Do you have a who's responsible for what list? Okay, let me answer this. Sorry, I was in my own zone reading. Do you have a who's responsible for what list? Wear and tear versus damage? Did you have a maintenance list? I've been changing the HVAC filter, cleaning it out. Can I have them clean it and put in a filter I provide? Who's responsible? What you're speaking about is maintenance. And maintenance falls on the landlord. You can tell them that they have to change that filter 4 times a year, 3 times a year, however many times a year you want to do it. But here's me talking to you. Listen to what I'm saying, okay? Because this is a good one. If we serve a 24-hour notice to enter, a lot of times our tenants kick up their heels and they fight. You know what I mean? Oh, it's not a good day. I'm at work. It doesn't work for me. Blah, 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 blah. If we're going in to do maintenance, like change the HVAC filter, and the handyman is going, a lot of times they just let them in. And then they tell the handyman, oh, please don't tell the landlord, but my sister moved in with me 2 months ago and she brought her 6 kids, and don't pay attention to the 4 dogs over here. You may not want to go in the house as the landlord. You may want to send someone. They tend to run their mouths to other people and changing their HVAC filter is a great excuse to get in the house and see what's going on. Wink, wink. You get what I'm trying to say to you? I get that it's a pain in the rear end, and that, if you're changing them twice a year, some people change them 4 times a year. It's just up to you. I do mine twice a year. Spring forward, fall back. I know it is what it is. It makes sense to me, and I don't forget it that way. But it's a great excuse and a reason for you to get into the property. I saw a company once that was selling a service to landlords, where they basically would mail the filter to the front door telling the tenant, it's that time again, here it is, please change it. And I thought, wow, how do you know they're ever going to change it? Number one, because I bet you dollars for donuts, when they move out, you will open a cupboard and find every single one of those AC filters that you mailed them in a cupboard in the house, because they're not going to do it. Okay. And my other thing is, why would you take away your opportunity to get inside the house? Oh, we need to come in and do scheduled maintenance. We're going to go ahead and change your HVAC filters and see if you have any other issues that need to be addressed around the property. Sounds so non-threatening to a tenant. That's how you get in. So for me personally, I wouldn't give away my opportunity to get in by hiring somebody else just because I didn't want to deal with it. Just saying. I want to get in these houses. I want to see the conditions that they're being kept in. I want to know what's going on in there, and getting in there is the best way to do it. So changing that filter is a great excuse to get in. Screenshots, piece of cake. Got you. Should we be turning on the water during these inspections to see if it's working properly? I don't want to touch their faucets. Let me try that again. Should we be turning on the water during the inspection to see if it's working properly? I don't want to touch their faucets. It's your faucet, sir, with all due respect. Wear gloves and flush the toilet. Val, you got me. Flush the toilet, turn on the shower, run the sink. Turn on the faucet, run the sink, make sure that you don't have a slow drain issue. Remember, if they have slow drains, that's a habitability issue, or could be a habitability issue and a reason for them to withhold rent. We want to touch their faucets. We want to fill up their sinks. We want to look under the cupboards to see if the sink is dripping or leaking, or we have some kind of an issue. Doing an inspection when they live there for preventative maintenance is exactly that. You're checking for preventative maintenance to avoid a potential problem. I mean, how many of us have ever had the problem where a tenant never opened up under the kitchen sink, they had a leak there, and they had no idea, and months go by because they keep their dish soap on top and their sponge on top, so they really don't need to open it under there, and they don't. And they have a leak from that piping or from the garbage disposal for that matter, and it starts mildewing and molding, and they get this smell, and that's how they know there's a problem, is they smell it before they see it. And yeah, that can get yucky real quick. Real quick. Ugh. Don't even get me going. I might tell you a story I don't want to talk about. But I do. I turn on the showers. I turn on the garbage disposal. I turn on the faucets. I look under the sink. Okay. I want to make sure the pipes under the sinks aren't dripping. Because it happens. It happens. It's life. The life of a rental property. So by checking all of the faucets and the plumbing and making sure you don't have slow drains and letting the sink run for 30 seconds and turning the water off and making sure that it's draining properly. I do that every time I do an inspection because there's so many issues for habitability issues regarding plumbing. Leaking faucets, slow drains, those are habitability issues. So we don't want them to have those problems. We want to make sure that we're addressing them accordingly. Okay. Okay, Melanie, I knew somebody was going to talk to me about that, and I'm going to tell you about it. But let me get to Teresa first because she was in front of you. Tenant broke the garbage disposal 1 year ago and wouldn't admit it and said it doesn't work, but called the manufacturer, showed picks and slits. Uniformly, manufacturer said it was probably a knife and damage to property tenant won't pay or admit. How do I charge for this or other non-admitted damage? Okay. You can charge one of two ways, okay? You can wait till they move out and take it out of their security deposit, okay? And if you're trying to have less of a conflict at the time, that's a much better way to handle it. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll just adjust this out of your deposit when you vacate. But you got to watch that, because if you tend to say that a lot, they could end up owing you a butt ton of money when they move out. So you want to be careful with that. Another good business practice and something I always did was give them a demand letter. Thank you so much for notifying us on January 1st. And I'm just giving you guys an example that your garbage disposal was failing to operate. After review of the plumber, it was found that a shot glass was in the garbage disposal, jamming that. So this expense to repair the garbage disposal is due to your negligence and falls on you. You have 30 days to pay this bill and go from there. You can, and then this is when your options open up. Okay, you guys, you get options. You can either put it on their ledger as past due charges. You can then serve them 3-day curable breach of covenants to pay that past due charge, unless you're in a pandemic in LA County. Okay, so let's talk about non-COVID, please. You can put that expense on their ledger and give them a 3-day curable breach of covenant to pay it. You may be able to even do an eviction because they refuse to pay it. Okay. You got a lot of options and a lot of moving parts. Okay. So there's different ways that you can handle it. I usually always send a 30-day demand letter, letting them know that I'm demanding this funds depending on the expense and what it is. If it's a garbage disposal versus if it's a whole jacuzzi tub. Okay. Garbage disposal, $400, jacuzzi tub, $4,000. Okay. So the $400, I might not go for the guillotine, and the $4,000 I might. Example, tenant put Jello in a jacuzzi. Don't ask. Tenant put Jello in a jacuzzi. No joke. This really happened. They put Jello in a jacuzzi and it ruined the whole pump motors. And they had, it did all kinds of things. You know, the little jets, it shot Jello out of those jets. It was just shooting Jello, not water, everywhere. It was a mess. Long story short, don't put Jello in your jacuzzi. Just saying. But we ended up sending them a demand letter for the $4,000 to replace the innards in the spa. I mean, it even messed up each individual jet, and there was like 62 jets or 64 jets on this spa. It messed up everything. So another thing that messes up spas, just so you guys know, is candle wax. Just so you know, they get in there in that system, it's bad because it doesn't ever solidify. It's so hot in the spa, it just keeps melting the wax and spreading it everywhere. It's a nightmare. But what I did is I gave them a demand letter telling them that they were responsible for those expenses and that they had 30 days to pay me. Okay. Then I had options at that point. I could do a 3-day curable breach of covenant after 30 days because they didn't pay me. I could deduct that from their ledger and add the charges that way and put it on as a past due expense, not rent though, other charges. I could, and this is what I did, sue them in small claims court for the money that's owed to you. Why they still live in the properties, you know where to find them. So it just depends. You do have a lot of options when you're not governed by a moratorium or a city ordinance due to a pandemic. Okay, there's lots of moving ways that you can go after the money and handle it that way by either billing back, suing in small claims, adding it to their ledger, doing a 3-day curable, and then you could do a quit behind them if they didn't pay you, if it was part of the rental agreement. It all just depends on how your written terms of your rental agreement are, of what you can and can't do and what's the better way to handle it. So I don't have an A or B answer. Okay. each time something happens, you have to weigh what's going on and what's the best way to handle the situation. I mean, are we talking about $40 or are we talking about $4,000? For $40, I'm not going to sue you in small claims court. It would be a waste of time and money. But for $4,000, you better believe I'm going to do that. Okay. If we're talking about $400, I'm probably just going to put it on your ledger and charge you when you move out. Same thing with the $40. Okay. Depending on how much deposit you have on file and where this is going. Okay, let me get backwards here. We have a very high maintenance tenant in LARSO who claims there is a smell in the apartment, which was lightly renovated before move-in. We had the vents cleaned and the plumbing works done and the leak in the kitchen repaired. He had a mold expert who found nothing, but still a smell lingers, and he keeps complaining and complaining. What next? I'm sorry that we can't accommodate your need. If you want to move out and terminate your contract, we completely understand. We've done everything within our power and we can't figure out what's bothering you or irritating you. I'm sorry, we've done everything that we could think of, and I'd be more than happy to terminate your tenancy for you and not hold you to your rental contract. Okay. Is there a smell? I mean, did we have some kind of a plumbing issue? What is the smell? Is it a mildew smell? Because that gets wicked up in drywall. That gets wicked up into baseboards. I mean, what kind of a smell do you have? Is it a dead body smell? Because that could be a two-legged critter or a four-legged critter. It just depends. So I get it. He keeps complaining. They keep complaining, and you can't pinpoint what it is. Then let him know. We've done everything that we can think of. We've called specialists. We can't figure it out either. We don't want you to be here and be miserable. That's not fair to you. And quite frankly, we don't know what else to do, but not hold you to your lease term and let you out of your contract earlier. And then cross your fingers and hope and pray, because you don't want somebody like that anyway. I ended up not selling a renter, but the inspector called out the missing pressure relief valve on the drain hose on the hot water heater. Okay. This is something we will be addressing in every house going forward. Absolutely. Pressure relief valve, just so you guys know, they're probably on every water heater, or they should be. If the pressure inside the water heater gets building up too hot, it releases through that relief valve instead of the water tank blowing or it blowing a water line. So it really does do you justice. Okay. My units do not have a garbage disposal, but the tenant crams food into the drain, causing stoppage. What can be done? Charge them for clearing the drain. A plugged up drain, normal wear and tear for a plugged up drain is usually twice annually. So if your tenant calls and says they have a plugged up drain, I give them 2 times a year. Okay. Any more than that, that's not wear and tear. That's excessive use or damage or misuse. I had a lady in a property. She had hair that was like 4 feet long. No joke. It was beautiful. But every 3 months we had to go do her drains, because when you wash your hair and brush your hair, obviously it gets in the shower and the drain and goes. So we had issues with plugged drains with that long, extensive hair. So what we did is we ended up doing it quarterly. The landlord paid for it twice a year and she paid for it twice a year. So we kind of split it right down the middle is how we did it. But how I looked at it is the landlord's responsible for twice a year. So why we're doing it twice and all the rest of them just fall on you. But it ended up being a split down the middle and it kept the balance right. She didn't feel offended by it. The landlord wasn't happy that he had to pay for it twice a year, but he also understood wear and tear versus damage, and she was willing to pay for the other ones. So with that being said, if you can find a way to keep that balance right and keep those scales perfect, it really does help you with your tenant retention and the things that they say to us when we don't want to do that. Okay, Val, what you got? Is that clog issue paying twice a year a state law? I don't believe it is a state law. I believe it's the difference between corporate America and a professional management company wanting to remain a little bit transparent. Does that make sense to you? So sometimes when you're in corporate America and you're a regional property manager, you're way up in corporate America, well, no matter what you're doing, you tend to be a little bit more transparent rather than gimme, gimme, gimme. You tend to give a little more to avoid some of the conflicts that happen and the attitudes that come with those conflicts. So sometimes we just like to keep things calm, just keep things calm. Okay. So we don't have to deal with it. Val's got another question. My lease agreement states that any plumbing issue that is proven to be tenant fault, they pay, not me. That's fine, but here's the reality. If, and I'm going to give you a great example. If your tenant's pissed off at you and they flush their entire laundry basket down the toilet, yes, I've had that happen. And it goes, whole laundry basket full of laundry down the toilet. It went down into the main line between the street and the property and stopped there. I mean, it was a whole laundry basket full of clothes. So they actually had to dig up the main line, jackhammer into the main line and pull all that laundry out and then fix it cost the owner like $4,000 to fix this problem. Yeah. So sometimes tenants can do things that are a little bit excessive, but I don't believe there's a state law saying how many times you have to allow it. It's the difference between little mom and pop and corporate America being transparent. So that is not a state law about the clog issue. It just looks better when you go to trial. And I'm just talking to you. If you as a landlord say, well, at least the first plug drain every year I cover, the rest of them are on them. That's even a good business practice. Because if you as a landlord take the initiative to say, okay, I know you jammed up that garbage disposal with all that rice you put in there, but I'll pay for this one. Just any ones in the future, you go ahead and pay. It's just another way of keeping the balance nice, keeping it right, trying to keep that door open so that we don't get the tenant mad at us. Pick and choose your battles as nicely as I could explain that, to help you so that, I mean, I have landlords sometimes that are flipping out over a light bulb and a smoke detector. And they're just so frustrated because of what the tenant's doing to them verbally and what they're saying to them and how angry they are. And then you have somebody else that had a whole laundry basket flushed down their drains and it's costing them thousands of dollars. That's where you need to, you know what I mean? Pick and choose your battle. I know sometimes tenants make us mad and they make us mad for the dumbest reasons when we sit back and look back at it. But try not to act on emotions. Try to remember that this is a business and don't let them irk you. Okay. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but we are the professional in the industry as the landlord, and we need to act as such. So be careful what comes out of your mouth. And most importantly, be careful what comes out of here. Okay. Don't put threats in writing. It's a bad business practice. Try not speaking in absolutes, and absolutely don't write in absolutes. Okay. So if you use words like could, should, might, most likely, maybe, you're not giving a definite answer. So you're not giving the wrong answer. You're also not making false promises because it wasn't a definite. You said maybe, not must. Okay. So no absolutes, whether you're writing or you're speaking. Remove them from your vocabulary when dealing with investment property. Absolutes get you in trouble. Absolutely. And if you don't use them, then you absolutely can't give the wrong answer. So if you say you could, you should, most likely, maybe, I didn't tell you yes. See the difference? So try using no absolutes. It works wonders when you're writing a letter, because if you don't use absolutes, you can't write a threat. Try it. Trust me, you can't. You can't write a threat in writing if you don't use absolutes. You most likely will be evicted. Is that a threat? No, but you will be evicted. Is that a threat? Absolutely. Most likely, not a threat. You guys paying attention? Sometimes I feel like I'm saying too much. Sometimes I feel like I'm rambling. All right, does anybody have anything, or I'm going to cut this for the day and we'll be back next Wednesday. And what do you guys want to talk about? What do you guys got going on that you have more clarity about? Here's something I can throw at you. If you have not applied for the government funds and you want to get paid, or you're looking for, and your tenant's behind non-payment of rent, apply. They're starting to get a little thin in areas, and once it's gone, it's gone. I don't see that they're going to increase having more funding available unless they do it just for LA County, who added additional restrictions. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, but I don't know what they're going to do as far as that goes. And we lost our money girl. I'm so sad. We lost April. She'll still pop in every now and then, but we lost her. And I can still ask her questions if we need them. I just know that some areas are starting to get pretty skimpy on those funds, so watch out. We don't want to be at the airport waiting for our ship to come in. My tenant will not pay for another year and a half. Who is going to pay for that? What city are you in? Why aren't you evicting her now for non-payment of rent if she owes you money? Because starting in April, you can't do anything in LA County, only a nuisance. As nicely as I could say this, run! Contact your legal counsel. Chances are you could do an eviction right now for non-payment of rent in Huntington Park. Okay? Call your legal counsel. Start that case now. Do you think that tenants are current can still get relief? Do you think tenants that are current can still get relief? On the back monies that are owed, yes, but not on current rents. So let me give you an example. Let's say that Julie got COVID or whatever happened to her. She didn't pay for 4 months and she applied for the funds. She got her life back together, had a little hiccup, things happen, and now she's back on the bandwagon, rocking and rolling and paying her rent on time. COVID relief could still pay those 4 months of back rent for her. But as far as her now rents, it depends on what she's claiming. If she can show that she's capable of paying her own rent, they probably will not assist. My opinion is they might get a little bit more strict with the funds now that they're getting a little bit more limited on the funds that they have available. Kind of makes sense, right? When you get back down to the bottom of the bucket, you got to get real stingy. So that's what I think of that. Hope that makes sense. And what do you guys want to talk about next week? Let me see what I got. Teresa, LA City, can we evict for a nuisance causing damage, disconnecting smoke detectors, not letting, I don't know what LL is. It's probably a typo. Not letting us in, I'm assuming. Not letting you in, can't do anything. Disconnecting smoke detectors is a health and safety issue. And one of the reasons you can do an eviction in LA City is for health and safety. You got them on the smoke detectors, you hear me? Go get them, girl. Landlord, got it, LL. I knew that. I know all of those things. LL, landlord, I know. It's just been a while, and apparently I'm having a Wednesday on a Monday, or a Monday on a Wednesday. It's not a great day for me today, guys. Don't ask. Yep. Yep. Even in LA City, call your legal counsel. If you have a tenant anywhere in the state of California that owes you rent money, you most likely can do an eviction right now. I know that your legal counsel can help assist you, especially if they're not participating in the rent relief program. And there is something that your legal counsel can do to start an eviction based on non-payment of rent or failure to participate in the government program. I could get into depth and breadth on how you do that, but why? Contact your legal counsel. It's a simple, easy answer. But yes, you're most likely going to be able to do something. And if it were me, I can't give you legal advice on a lot of things, you guys, but I'm not an attorney. But if it were me, I'd jump on that sooner rather than later, especially in LA County. And that's just my personal opinion. Do you have a maintenance list or a seminar in your library? In regards to what, Teresa? I'm trying to find out. What do you want? A preventative maintenance inspection list or a list of vendors that do repairs? I just don't know what you're asking me for. Do you have a maintenance list or a seminar in your library? Oh, of who's responsible for what? Okay, I'll make it easy for you. The landlord's responsible for everything, okay? Unless it's a tenant's fault. Maintenance falls on the landlord, right? Wear and tear falls on the landlord, right? Everything falls on the landlord unless it's tenant caused damage. So if it's tenant caused damage, the tenant has to pay for it. Otherwise, everything else falls on the landlord. Tenant made me change light bulbs. Absolutely, you're responsible to change them, especially think of it this way, okay? And let's talk about this. Let's say it's in the top of the staircase. You know what I'm talking about, where your stairs go down and then they go flat and then they go down again and at the top. I'm 4'8", you guys. So I look at that and go, oh no, not happening. Do you expect your 70-year-old tenant to get on a ladder or scaffolding to change the light bulb in the hallway so they don't fall down the stairs? Now that I said it that way, I hope it makes sense to you. If your tenant calls you and says they need help changing a light bulb, you don't want them falling off a ladder and suing you. Understand? Go change the light bulb. I hope that just clicked for you. I get that it's a pain in the rear. I get that it's pain to go tell maintenance, go change your light bulb that went out in the kitchen again, then go change it. But do you want your tenant on a ladder? And let's be honest, a lot of your tenants don't even own a ladder. So now what are they doing? Standing on a kitchen chair and that's still not tall enough. So they start stacking up phone books and then they're going to climb up this one. Done. Okay. Think of the insurance claim. Okay. If they need help with a light bulb, change it. Just fix it. It's not worth the big picture of what's most likely going to happen if you tell them to change that light bulb. Now, if it's in their lamp sitting on their coffee table, whole different set of facts. Okay, I'm not playing that. But yes, I've changed light bulbs, especially for people in residential dwellings where they may be difficult if you didn't own a ladder. Most tenants don't own a ladder. So I've always changed light bulbs for tenants when they notify me if it's out in a hallway or something along those lines, especially in a staircase. Yeah, we don't, no, change them. Hire somebody if you have to, but change them. A tenant is requesting new flooring. We are considering replacing the old carpet with laminate flooring, but they have 4 small dogs. Small dogs pee. Val? Large dogs pee even more. Just saying. Just saying. He's requesting new flooring. What's wrong with the flooring that's in place? It's old carpet. Does it need to be stretched? Because if it just needs to be stretched and cleaned, hit the easy button. If he's caused damage with all of the pet urine, I get that it's worn, but what I would do is I would call a carpet cleaner out there and ask them what the life of the carpet is. If it's stretched, re-stretched again and cleaned, might be okay. If it doesn't have huge wear patterns in it and it's not completely threadbare, you may be able to get some more time out of it, especially when you have 4 small dogs that may leak all over the carpet. As far as putting laminate in there, you can do that too. You don't have to trade. Hold on. Patty's little blonde brain just went bing. No, you got to do like for like. So they have to agree to the laminate. Otherwise, you're putting carpet back in. Sorry. Like for like. Because I don't want them to say you baited them in there with carpet and then switched it on them. I know it's an upgrade, but just they got to make sure it's okay with them. Okay. Protect your asset by double checking with them. He damaged walls banging fridge. Hold on, I got to read this again, Teresa. And you guys, sometimes these aren't typos. People do weird things in residential dwellings. And those of us that manage investment property for profit can tell you some pretty crazy stories. We're a lot of fun at parties, okay? He damaged the walls, banging fridge. He tried to spot paint, but it looks like a Dalmatian. I always get people on spot painting, always, because 9 times out of 10, your tenant will paint semi-gloss spot painting on a flat wall, and then it looks like it's a Dalmatian. She's got the words perfect. I mean, it's just, sometimes they paint flat touch-up paint on a semi-gloss wall, and they have the same problem. If they do that, charge them to paint the entire wall. They've created damage by spot painting and not color matching or doing it properly, so you get to charge them to paint the whole wall. Got it? Because I guarantee you, they did not ask for owner permission when they made those modifications and tried to paint that wall. Therefore, it would be an unpermitted modification to the property by them painting without landlord permission, and that's why you get to paint the whole wall. Got it? Patty, I have a tenant that owes October through February. I received rental assistance for 15 months. Tenant applied again, recertified with Housing is Key. So, okay, do you understand that Housing is Key will only pay a maximum of 18 months total? So if you've already been paid for 15 months, they're only going to give you 3. Are you listening to what I'm saying to you? So if that were me, I would contact my attorney so that I could file eviction and start eviction immediately, because no matter what, they're still going to be at the rears if you get paid, most likely. I'd file eviction, Diana. If that were me, I would totally be filing eviction right now. Dog nails in wood. In a hardwood floor, dog nails, the scratch marks is what she's talking about, you guys. We get it a lot. That is considered damage and they have to pay to replace it. And if you can't replace just the area that was affected because you can't get it to match, you can replace the flooring in that room. And if it's yeah, I got you. And if it flows into the rest of the house, that could cause a whole nother problem, but we don't want to get into changing all the flooring in the whole house without calling your attorney first. Make sense? Val says it has wear patterns. It was not new when they moved in. We knew they had dogs, so we didn't bother changing it out. Ask them if you can change it and upgrade to a laminate. If they're okay with it, just have them sign that they're okay with the carpet being replaced to the upgraded, and use the word upgraded before they to the upgraded laminate flooring instead. Just have them sign. It's just to protect you so that you're not being held accountable for bait and switch. In other words, you baited me in here to give me this carpet. Now that I'm living here, you switched it out for this, and it's not what I wanted. Just put it in writing to protect you. Yes, even after how many years of life of paint? Teresa, please listen to me, okay? If they painted a Dalmatian on your wall by using flat paint, semi-gloss, or they didn't get the match right, that is tenant caused damage. There is no wear and tear there. Understand? That is damage all day long. You can charge them to prime the wall. You can charge them to paint the wall. If they did it through the whole house, guess what? You get to charge them to paint the whole damn house. Okay? You with me? With that being said, if you're looking for the wear and tear on lifespan of paint, it's 3 years on paint. And you can find that information out from the Department of Consumer Affairs. It will tell you that the lifespan on paint is 3 years, but that doesn't count damage. I want to put in your guys' head, damage is all day long. Damage means you get your money back. Wear and tear means you don't touch it. Make sense? You're paying for it. Sign that they are responsible for damage to new flooring. I'm thinking this is a $5,000 upgrade. That's way more than their deposit. My question becomes, why would you put a $5,000 upgrade in a property if the tenant doesn't support it and their deposit doesn't support it? Makes me want to go back to carpet. You hear me? The most, you could ask them for a higher security deposit, Val, as long as this is one of your single family residences and not a duplex. A duplex would make it subject to statewide rent control, so you couldn't do an increase. But if you're going to do a flooring upgrade, I would add an increase of their security deposit. Single family, I'd increase their security deposit. You can ask for up to double the amount of the rent on a vacant unit when you rent it, meaning it doesn't have any of your furnishings, okay? If it's fully furnished, California state law says you can ask for 3 times the amount of the monthly rent on a furnished unit, or 2 times the amount of the rent on a vacant unit, meaning you don't have it fully furnished. And don't go put a chair in there and say it's furnished. It has to be fully furnished to charge 3 times the amount of the deposit. 2 times on an unfurnished unit, I'll start saying it that way instead of vacant, and only 1 times the amount of the security deposit for anyone that is active military. They've been in there about 5 years and no plans to leave. It's up to you how you want to upgrade it, okay? But I'd increase the security deposit. And for those of you that are adamant, especially in LA and in rent control areas, you guys raise the rent as much as you can every year. I know you do. You're great landlords and you keep up with that. But are you increasing the deposit as well? Wait, what'd she say? Even in LARSO, you can ask for an annual deposit increase just as much as you ask for a rent increase. So example, if you're limited to 3.1%, and I'm just throwing out a number, then you can increase your deposit 3.1% annually as well. A lot of people don't know that you can do that. Except during COVID and the pandemic in LA County. I'm just letting you know general knowledge here. Okay, you guys, if you're increasing rents, increase the deposit too. I mean, that's how we end up with houses that have a $400 security deposit and the tenants live there 25 years and nobody's ever increased the deposit as it's gone up. If you are limited on how much you can increase your rents annually, then you are limited on how much you can increase your deposit annually, okay? So what did Patty just say in English? When you're raising the rent, raise the deposit the same amount you're raising the rent. You're welcome. And then you won't be stuck with that $400 deposit. And yeah, that's not fun. All right, you guys, I'm going to get off of here. Have a wonderful weekend. Unless you guys have anything else you want to ask me, I am going to get on with my day. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We'll be back next week. We got some stuff coming up with the Apartment Association of San Diego that we'll be doing, I believe, in the month of March. Yes, March, next month. So I'll be in San Diego. I'm getting back to being places in person, folks. AGLA's doing their trade show in May. I'll be at that. I have some in-person trainings coming up, so I'll see you guys around, I'm sure. You guys have a great weekend. If you need me, have any questions, need to help me down, you know how to find me. Yes, Housing is Key seminar. Thank you, Val. Housing is Key seminar. I believe it's AGLA that's doing a seminar on February 28th. Val will pipe in here and tell us who, what, when, where, and why. But they're actually doing a webinar with one of the people from Housing is Key. I believe AGLA's doing that on the 28th, and that's off the top of my head. Val, please tell me it's on the 28th. maybe it's the 25th. Maybe Patty's all screwed up, but we do have a Housing is Key webinar coming up with the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, where we can actually ask those providers, what's going on? Where's our money? How come you're not changing our status so we can get that lockout done faster? Come on. So giving us the opportunity to talk to them and find out what's going on with the program. Val, you're so funny. Check Agla's calendar of upcoming events. I believe that is on the 28th. I could be wrong, but check it. All right, you guys have a great week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.